I'm just going to repeat this one more time so that you continue hearing it and continue putting this into your long-term memory. The triangle inequality theorem says that the sum of lengths of any two sides of a triangle must be greater than the length of the third side. And so any two sides that we add together have to be bigger than the last side. And so we stated if things were, if three side lengths were possible by adding the two smallest and seeing if they were bigger than the biggest side. And in two cases they weren't, in one case they were. Then it asked us, it gave us two side lengths and asked us to come up with the biggest side length that we could have and write our answer as an inequality. And I challenged you then to try these next two on your own. And so this one gives the same set of directions. A triangle has whole number side lengths. Two sides are given below. However, the one thing that changed, hopefully you noticed this, it says determine the least possible measure of the third side instead of the greatest measure of the third side. Write your answer as an inequality. So, at this point, you may have to pause the video and retry your work here and rethink this through. I'm going to let A equal the length of the third side. And if we're coming up with the least possible measure, then that means that 12 has to be the biggest number. So if 12 is my biggest number, the opposite of adding together is subtracting. 12 minus 9 equals 3. If I have side lengths of 9 and 3 are going to collapse onto each other. And so it has to be, that side length is going to have to be bigger than 3 in order for those two side lengths to prop up. And so in this case, A has to be greater than 3. And this is a little bit counterintuitive because we're reading the least and we're thinking less than. However, we're talking about which number is the smallest one that we can use. And since A has to be bigger than 3, the smallest whole number in this case would be 4, where those two sides can still stay propped up. 9, 4, and 12 would be possible, but 9, 3, and 12 would not. And then 3 and 4, again, if we're coming up with the least side, 4 is going to be my big side. So 4 minus 3 equals 1. If I had side lengths of 3 and 1, those two short sides would collapse onto that fourth line, or onto that long 4 line. And so if I let B equal the length of my third side, B has to be bigger than 1 so that those two sides don't collapse. As long as it's more than 1, those two sides, 3 and whatever that extra number is, can meet and be propped up against the long side 4. And then in this last example down here, it says two sides of a triangle have the following measures. Find the range of possible measures for the third side. Write your answer as a compound inequality. So we're actually going to be coming up with the biggest and the smallest number that the side lengths could be. And so here I'm going to let C equal the length of my third side. And I know that the biggest number that it can be, 9 plus 5 equals 14. So C is going to have to be less than 14 because at 9, if 9 and 5 are my short sides, they're going to collapse on 14. So C has to be less than 14. It also, if 9 is going to be my biggest side, and 5 is going to be one of my short sides, 5 and 4 would, if 9 is my long side, I just want you to kind of visualize, if 9 is my long side, 5 and 4 are going to collapse down here. So C is going to have to be bigger than 4 so that those two sides can stay propped up. And so the compound inequality piece here says, if we look at it here, C is bigger than 4, and if we look at it on this side, C is less than 14. This is what we call a compound inequality. We have C in the middle, and here C is bigger than 4, but less than 14. So the length of that third side has to be a number between 4 and 14 in order for this to be possible. If you're looking for a challenge and you want to pause the video at this time, you can. Otherwise, you can follow along with me. Let's let D equal the length of our third side. And we've got 5 plus 8 equals 13. This is the biggest. And we've got 8 minus 5 gives us 3. This is going to be the smallest that we can get here. Again, 5 and 3, if 8 is my long side, 5 and 3 would collapse on 8. And so that's not going to work. So D has to be greater than 3. D also has to be less than 13 in order for this to work.